I don't know how strong your jollof game is, but if you're still struggling to make really good jollof, then I'm going to teach you how to make the best jollof, very flavorful jollof. And trust me, you guys are going to love this recipe. It's very simple. And I always say this, if you want really good jollof, then get ready to invest in it, because the ingredients that we use for jollof, they are not so cheap. But I'm telling you, you really love the results. Okay, let's get started. This is a very important part of jollof. I always try to use very red vegetables like my red bell peppers, my beetroot, some red pepper, red chilies, onion, and then my tomatoes. And for fresh herbs, I'm going to use basil. You can use any herbs that you like. I like basil, I like thyme, so I use any of that. So I'm just going to roast this, because roasting it brings out this smoky flavor. It gives it a vibrant color and also makes the jollof stew very thick. So if you like thick stew, then the roasting method is the best for you. Now after blending, you can see how red and vibrant the color is. I'm just going to transfer this into a bowl and then set it aside. Now something you need to know is make sure you don't blend this with any water. Okay, maybe you can add oil, but blending it with water is not the best option. Just blend the pepper mix like that, because it's already soft when you roast it. Now every jollof needs a very good stew base mix, and I always put together this pepper mix. That's my carrots, some green bell pepper, kpakposhito, ginger, garlic, onion, bay leaf, and then I'm going to use fennel seeds, because I like fennel seeds a lot in jollof. Now I'm just going to blend this with some water and transfer this into a bowl as well. This is going to be the same pepper mix I use for steaming my meat, and then the same pepper mix I use for the stew base, okay? For the protein, I'm using this turkey. I'm going to just add the pepper mix I blended to this, and then add in some water, because I'm trying to make my stock for the jollof. I cook my jollof with stock. Now I'm going to just season this turkey with my seasoning mix. I have put together all the seasoning mix I use for this recipe in the caption. Please check it out to make it simple for you. I'm going to add in my natural spices, give this a good mix, and then cover this and let it cook. You can use any protein of your choice if you like, okay? I'm going to cook my turkey for 30 minutes. It doesn't take too long to cook. I'm going to give this a good mix. You can taste it, adjust the seasoning if you want, and that's it. In your saucepan, add in some oil, because we are going to fry the turkey. If you like, you can roast, air fry, grill, whatever you want to do to it. But when you're making jollof and you want to like improve the flavor of the jollof, then it's better to fry the meat and then use that same oil to make the stew. But it doesn't matter, because oil is expensive, so you can just air fry it so that you can save some oil. I added some onions to the oil just to enhance the flavor, and then I'm going to fry my turkey, and once that is golden brown, I'm taking it out of the oil, and we're going to use that same oil to make the jollof. I'm going to transfer the oil into another pan, because I like to cook my jollof in a saucepan that can absorb a lot of heat and pressure, like a cast iron pan, okay? Because that's very important. And I'm going to add in some chopped onions. I use 3 medium-sized onions for this, and then fry it before I add in my pepper mix, okay? Now I'm going to add in the pepper mix that I blended earlier. Like I said, it's going to act as my stew base mix as well. Give this a good mix, let it fry for 10 minutes before you add in the tomato paste. Now when it comes to getting the color of jollof, tomato paste really helps with that, okay? So you need to add enough tomato paste when you're making this recipe. And so whilst the pepper mix is frying, you can add in the tomato paste so that they properly cook together. Now I'm going to add in the tomato paste, and you can see the quantity I'm using. I'm using enough of it. I wouldn't use the same quantity when I'm making stew. I don't like a lot of tomato paste in stew, but for jollof, you need it, okay? Now, you need to make sure you fry the tomato paste very well before you add in the tomato mix, because that stew must taste cooked. Otherwise, the jollof is going to have this sour taste, and you wouldn't like that. And so, after approximately 20 minutes, I'm going to add in the tomato mix and give this a good mix. Now, you can cover this and let your stew cook before you add the rice. For jollof stew, it doesn't have to cook for too long. And when you do this method of roasting, it doesn't cook for too long. It takes like 20 minutes for the stew to cook, and that's why it's better to roast the pepper mix for your jollof when you're making it, or even for your stew. Now I'm going to season my stew, and I always mix different seasonings into one when I'm making my jollof. I mix my Remie chicken, Remie beef, Maggie cube, Onga cube. I add in some curry powder, mix for stew, and then I add in Egye Aware3 spice. I put that together, and sometimes I add paprika, but this time I didn't add that because there was a lot of chilies in the stew already. Now I'm going to list all the ingredients in the caption. Please do well to check it out, including the seasoning mix I used for the recipe. Now that our jollof stew is ready, we're going to add in our rice. I use basmati rice for this recipe, and it's very tricky when you use basmati rice. Basmati doesn't like water, it doesn't like too much moisture, it cooks with a lot of steam, so you need to be careful when you're cooking with basmati rice. Otherwise, you can just use your jasmine rice and be free, but that doesn't stop you from using basmati rice. Now you want to fry that rice with a stew first before you add in any liquid or moisture to this jollof. Frying it with a stew for 5 minutes is going to make the jollof taste so nice. It's going to make the jollof taste very stewy, and I really like that. Now I'm going to add in the stock. Like I said, I don't cook my jollof with water. Water makes the jollof taste, I don't know, a little bit basic. So instead of the water, I'm going to use stock. Now I'm going to just mix it together, and you can see how this looks. There is a lot of moisture around the rice. That's the stew and then the stock. So there is no need to add water. You can use a wet napkin, cover this, and then cook the jollof. Or you can use a tissue paper, including a wet napkin or just a tissue paper. Any of them works. But using a wet napkin also works faster. You can use that as well. I'm used to cooking jollof, so I can use a tissue paper and it will still come out well. Now I'm going to check it for the first time, and you can see how this looks. It's not cooked, but it looks good, and that's how your jollof should be. Okay, now just give this a good mix, stir it, and make sure that the ones at the down part comes on top so that it doesn't burn. Do you understand? And then the upper part also cooks as well. Now you're just going to cover this with a tissue paper again and let the jollof completely cook till the texture becomes soft enough for you. Make sure you don't stir the jollof too many times, because stirring the jollof too many times breaks the rice and it doesn't make the rice look good. It looks broken, and you wouldn't want that. And the type of rice you also use is very important. For the basmati, I'm using Indian Gate basmati rice. You can use Ziba basmati rice as well. Any of them works. Or you can use your jasmine rice. Any jasmine rice that you like is going to work very well. Now you can see how my jollof is looking. Now that it's cooked, I'm going to add in some vegetables, give this a good mix, and then my jollof is ready. You can now serve this with anything that you like. I'm going to add some plantains. I'm going to add my turkey. I kind of made the turkey a bit peppered because I like spicy food, so I'm just going to place this and then add my turkey and plantain. Jollof is not hard to make. It's very simple. Please don't say jollof is hard to make, or my jollof doesn't taste good, or my jollof this, or my jollof that. You can actually make really good jollof with constant practice, and when you follow this recipe step by step, you're going to get it just right. I hope you guys try this recipe, and when you do, let me know how it goes. I can answer any questions that you ask me. You can text me anywhere on my social media, and I'm going to help you out. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in my next video. Bye.